Welcome to the Stop Suffering in Silence podcast with your host, Denise Walsh and Rachel Timothy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Stop Suffering in Silence podcast. You're here today on my new front porch swing because I wanted to do this on my front porch swing with a neighbor, Lisa Stein. And we're just going to have a conversation today. Now, there's a couple of things that make this a bit more awkward. Interesting. You have a lawnmower going. You have a few cicadas. Thousands. 2,000 cicadas.
Bunch of trees.
Occasionally, there will be an airplane. Yes,
Absolutely.
because the international airport's not far from here. And neighbors as well. Well, they like to walk by and say hello.
Yeah.
So we are in for a treat. This is about as raw and real as you could get.
I like it.
Yeah. So thank you, Lisa, for joining us.
My pleasure.
There's that airplane. Right on cue.
Some people pause for like a commercial break.
That's true.
We just pause for a American Airlines.
That's right. That's right. Well, so Lisa and I, we've known each other. Has it been a year?
I think so.
About a year. Last spring, we had a tree out front our house here that went down, and we did not have a chainsaw to be able to appropriately take all the limbs down and everything. And so my husband was out there with a little hatchet trying to chop
Quietly
trying.
chop
Yes.
a tree.
And so Lisa's husband came over to offer his chainsaw, and he was like, well, thank you, but my wife is currently recording a podcast, but when she's done, I would love to. Well, then he goes back and tells you,
His wife is recording a podcast, so he has to be quiet. And I was like, what kind of podcast? Oh, I didn't ask. I was like, you didn't ask? But he did. He said, when I go back down, I will ask.
aw.
So
And
he did.
so just the way that God orchestrated all this, we had probably lived 2 houses away from each other for a year prior to that, almost, at least 9 months. And, we both had our own stuff going on. Neither one easy stuff. But the timing of when we met and the way that God has continued to bring our lives together over the course of this year, it's just ever been evolving, ever been growing. And a huge part of that is because Lisa continues to say yes to everything that I ask her to do. You want to go to illicit spas with me, Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What are we going to do there? I asked that later after I said yes.
Yes, that is true. But she was all in. I said, hey, you want to come and talk to my church about visiting the illicit spas? Be like on a panel? Yes.
Absolutely.
Even, hey, you want to go for a walk? Now, sometimes she'll say no to me on the walk.
I do say no to
because she
you.
does have a life. But she has said yes to a lot of things.
And you and Denise asked if I would like to be interviewed on your Stop SIS podcast.
Yes.
And I said yes.
We'll have to look back and attach the podcast episode where Lisa shared a bit of her story and what she does now with her Mentor membership. And you guys can go and check that out if you don't remember, because it is a powerful episode. I remember when I first met Lisa, I knew of her story before I knew of her. And probably the biggest piece of your story right now is that you lost your son about a year and a half ago. And so when I was expecting then to meet Lisa, I expected to meet this sad, depressed, just completely curled up in a ball, sitting in her house, never wanting to leave woman. Instead, she was on fire for life, for changing others' lives. She was still broken, and you are still broken.
Absolutely. But that's the beautiful part of the process.
Yes.
It's figuring out where those little cracks of glass are located. And sometimes it's in a corner, that may be supported by the edge.
Yes.
But it's all important to be able to process through those.
Yeah. Agreed. But she took the time to heal, took the time to use your support system.
Yes.
And I feel like you still are at times. Tell me a bit more about how you utilize those around you in this journey.
From the day that I received that phone call that morning, I made a phone call to my husband. I made a phone call to Hunter's father, and Haley was at home with me. I really didn't have a conversation with anyone else, but what went into action was my husband went into action.
Oh, yeah.
He made the phone calls because he was out of state, and Tyron, one of my closest, dearest friends, was waiting in the yard, my front yard, for me whenever we came back from the coroner's office in Nashville. And, still just in complete disbelief. But again, I was met with open arms. And it continued. The situation through all of it, I just clung to God, because truly I knew that God was in the story. God is in his story. Hunter, I've shared with you that I always say Hunter saved me. He was 6 whenever he wanted Jesus in his heart. And I was 26 because my pastor was bold enough to say, how's your relationship? So, but again, friends, family, people on social media that we really may not have had a close relationship with, but we're in arm's reach distance with a computer screen or a cell phone to love on us, pray for us, lift us up, and take us to their churches, take us to their, just like the women in Illinois that we met recently.
Oh my goodness.
I know about you. We've been praying for you. And I'm like, I've been feeling it. So, again, I had also been working for like 10 years doing like self-development. I had hired and been working with a mentor for 3 years. And I really had structured morning routines, evening routines. I call them rhythms. I love music, right? So I can't sing, right? But the rhythms in my day was the vibration was still there for me to start picking it back up when I could pick it back up. Yeah. Definitely not saying that his passing is ever easy. No, not one part of it is easy. But because of the fact that I have and I call them divine appointments, right? You sharing Denise with me, you're like, oh, you've got to meet my friend Denise. She's got this incredible program, which is 90-day U-turn, which I was like, oh yeah, for my business, for my health, I put on some extra weight, in healing. Food is unfortunately a healing that we reach for. And everyone wanted to comfort me with casseroles and brownies and cookies.
Oh,
and
bless their heart.
I know, right? I'm like, oh, but it was delicious and it was wonderful. And our kitchens are like the heart of our home. Yeah. Your kitchen is real similar to mine because our living area surrounds our kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think most people know that, when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're hurting, we still have to eat to survive. And that's where families, community, friendships can be joined and formed. And that was what continued to happen. And people were letting me know that they too had lost someone to suicide. I mean, it's not something that I ever wanted to be able to say out loud, or, and I know some people are embarrassed by it. And at first I didn't know how to handle it and even to be able to say those words. Yeah. But I'm not the only mama that has to walk this road. And unfortunately, since that, I've come into contact and conversations with many mamas that are doing the same thing. They're choosing to stand up, but some days are just hard. So to reach out to each other, because we really do understand. I know you, thank God, you can't understand what I've gone through,
right?
And I can't understand what you've gone through. But together we have compassion and we have empathy and we have love and we have encouragement and we have a shoulder to to cry on, or a hand to hold, or
Yeah.
so those are the things I've been so rewarded over and over and over and over with so many beautiful people that are coming into my life. It's like, why wouldn't I want to allow? And that's part of the relationship too.
Yeah.
You're really good about you at doing that and just going, you know what? God laid something on my heart this morning. I just want to share it with you. And it may be just a
6-minute long voice message.
6 minute and 42 seconds.
Not that she was counting.
But again, I'm leaning into every word that you're sharing, because I know you share it from your heart. You share it from a space of being such a diligent part of listening to the Holy Spirit. And I think some of us have been spoken to by the Holy Spirit for years, but we didn't realize even that that's what it was. So
Yeah.
I'm just still learning, and it's so beautiful to be able
So, it sounds like you had your toolbox
Mm.
prepared
to.
prior to the tragedy that then entered your life. And because of that toolbox, whenever tragedy hit, you were able to pull from it what you needed. But it also sounds like at the same time, your community, with each one having their own different toolbox and their own different ways of helping, some with the tool of casseroles.
Right?
Hey, listen.
Absolutely.
But you're able to almost like share tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know how to love people in that space.
Oh, a lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people.
I don't know that I fully know.
Well,
Grief is so hard to
Yes.
know how to navigate.
Yes, and it continues to come.
Yeah.
Sunday we're going to celebrate Hunter's second birthday without him. He would be turning 31 years old, and I've wanted to do something, and I just want people to come together. I want the important parts of my life to connect.
Yeah.
I want them to intersect. I want them to meet each other. I want them to know who it is that is a different part of my beautiful puzzle that's being put together. So yeah, and again, I was so humbled. I knew that we had people that loved us. I knew that we had people that would be there for us, but the humbling that took place. I mean, I was so humbled, because again, you don't want to be in the place where you have to depend on someone. Sleeping was hard. Taking a shower was hard.
Yeah.
Again, it's those times when you're quiet with your thoughts.
Yes.
No matter what trauma it is that you've experienced in life, and that's the thing. Again, it's like, it's not a comparison, because I hear some people even say, that they lost a baby at birth, or a baby that wasn't even completely formed, but it's probably nothing like what I've experienced. I'm like, oh no, it is very much what I've experienced. A loss is a loss.
Pain is pain.
Pain is pain. Trauma is trauma. And that's where I just knew. I was like, okay, I need to be a student through this. Journaling, the not so easy days, but writing down my thoughts, writing down, being intentional with pausing and listening. One of the things, I use the journal that Denise designed, and it's got a little bit of everything there, from prayer time to gratitude to, this morning I wrote a letter to my future self 5 years from now, telling myself how proud I am, of the things. And it's like, I will be saying those things to myself in 5 years,
Yeah.
So again, it's just being intentional.
Yeah, I love that.
To speak and to open up. Absolutely.
Well, I know, like, recently you and I were chatting, and somebody else was with us. And I, for the life of me, we've had so many meetings lately, I can't remember exactly who it was. But you were talking about how you've gotten back up and you just keep going, and you're using those broken pieces to help others. And I mean, they're being restored. They are restored. There's still cracks, whatever. But it's God is using it for His glory in a way that never would have happened had the broken pieces never been there. But it was interesting to me, because this lady was like, well, I mean, yeah, you have to get back up. What other choice is there? And we both said, oh no, there's other choices.
Yes.
There's absolutely other choices.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you hear of it. You hear of those who begin to isolate and become, hermits in their own home. And They have other children, and they're not able to be for them what they had always desired to be. There's so many other choices that you could take. But the choice of, yes, you had your tools, you had your toolbox sitting there, but then it's almost like the encouragement from others and and God, obviously, to pick those tools up and actually use them.
Absolutely. And some of those tools you had to learn how to use again.
Yeah,
because, and again, and it's funny because, and I post stuff on my social media all the time, but I'm building a shelf.
Oh, I saw that.
That came in a box that was this tall.
It looks super complicated.
But it's very, the little steps are very detailed.
Oh, good.
Each size screw or bolt or whatever is in A bag, B bags. So again, some people don't read instructions.
Mm-hmm.
I am that type of person that I open up my instructions. I look at what items are supposed to be in there. I lay my items out, right? So everybody was grouped.
Everybody was grouped.
Everybody was grouped, right? Okay, team, we're going to
That's awesome.
But that was it, and it did. It took me like an hour last night to build it, but it's so cute and exactly what I was wanting.
I'll have to come see it.
Oh, yeah. I'll be sharing that.
Oh,
pictures,
cute.
everything.
Yeah, good.
But again, just like that, some things, it took a little bit more for me to bear down to like screw it in. Other things, the hole might not have been drilled all the way through. So again, just because things are difficult, that's the part of it I think that I've learned, because I am a very different person today than I was a year and a half ago. Like a little bit, right? You can't see it, I'm sure, but
we didn't mention that.
Yeah. But truly looking at who I am now, even to the person that I was before, because I do know that God is in my story. God is in this story. God has been in my story since I was a little girl, and again, it goes back to God's word. He knew every hair on our head, right? Before we were ever formed. And the parts of me that can connect with others, that's why the mentor membership started, because I knew that I could connect with women in a way that had been hurt when they were young, that had grown up in a family, in a home that wasn't the best. Parents divorcing, myself as a young single mom at 19, getting pregnant, and again, not having to walk around with that shame, Mama. I literally, really just released so much of that in this past year that I thought I had really worked on, but I was still carrying it with me. Something I just listened to was talking about the past is in that little rearview mirror for a reason. It's we can see it just enough to know that it happened, but this is where we're headed, and that's why we've got the big window, ahead of us, so that we use what has formed us, the tools that we took with us, and we're continuing forward to what lies ahead, and being led and guided by very incredible individuals that I trust, right? It's like,
well, and if you keep your eyes in the rearview mirror, you're going to crash into something in front of you.
Absolutely.
Your main focus has to be in front of you. Easier said than done. Easier said in an analogy than in real life. Some days I feel like I'm constantly staring in the rearview mirror. But ultimately, like, one of the main things I've been learning lately is God is in my present. He's in my front windshield. He's in the here and now. Yes, he was back there, but I'm going to experience him here. The relationship piece will happen here and now. And if I run too far ahead or decide to backtrack any, I'm going to miss time with him. And that breaks my heart.
Absolutely.
We, if you don't feel like sharing, please just say, Rachel, shut it. But we had a really amazing experience on the retreat. Lisa got to go with us on the retreat. There were so many things we could talk about with that. But we had a chance to do a visualization of where we were sitting in the garden with Jesus. Do you want me to shut it?
So good. Oh, so good. What a gift.
Yeah. And so all the group of us were in the living room of this beautiful Freedom House is what it's called, retreat home that you just knew was prayed over because the atmosphere in there was so pure and holy. Like, it felt you could feel the difference when you walked in the
Absolutely.
door.
Absolutely.
But we have the opportunity to sit there and visualize ourselves sitting in a garden with Jesus and kind of being walked through a conversation, and him then reminding us of lots of things that he has wanted to remind us of for a long time, but maybe we've not taken the time to sit down and listen and hear what he had to say. Would you want to share what your experience was like?
Absolutely. Well, of course, it was her voice that walked us through, which was beautiful because, again, you're sitting there with eyes closed, still pretty much with a room full of really strangers that we've gotten comfortable with each other over the couple of days. So we were very relaxed and able to open ourselves up. But your voice led us into this meadow. And at first I felt like, okay, a meadow, I'm like seeing like gold, like hay or wheat or something, right? But then you said, start noticing the flowers. And then I could see the shapes of the petals and the color and the smell and just the entire presence as I continued walking. And then when we got to the picnic table and we sat down because we've been walking a while, and it's like, oh yeah. And then I heard someone coming. So you were preparing us for Jesus making his way through. But I saw a child. I saw a little boy. And that was my blonde-haired, blue-eyed Hunter, giggling and playing in and out. And as amazed as I was with that, then Jesus came in the presence and talked to me and listened to me. And I mean, I really honestly don't even remember all that was even said. I wrote it down. I remember writing it down afterwards. But Hunter, the little Hunter, gave me a flower.
Aww.
And then went giggling and running and playing, back and forth again. But as you were preparing us to see Jesus stand up and walk away, and I was looking away, but then I looked to engage, and it was my 29-year-old Hunter with his long hair in the hand of Jesus. And I've prayed for that presence. I've prayed for that confirmation. Even though I knew he was there, he was not hurting. His eyes were blue and crisp and clear again. He'd been struggling for years without allowing us to step in and help. So the dark circles were gone. The pain was away, and just knowing and seeing and having that just a beautiful confirmation gifted to me that day. I just remember tears streaming down my face because of the fact I was so thankful. I finally got to see him, and Mama now knows that he really truly is okay.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That was just it was a miracle in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was an absolute miracle, and we could have not done anything else the entire retreat, and that would have sufficed. So cool. And one of the things about you that I love is as soon as you learn something, you don't just harbor it in your heart. Like you take it to the world and you want people to know, whether it's the store down the street, right? The brownies or the fudge or whatever, like you are passing along any tool, any good information to those that you care about. And one thing that you and I have kind of been talking about, and Denise and I are hoping to get into schools and to start talking to the kids and raising awareness to them and the teachers about the ways that trauma and trafficking can look, and to give them verbiage for that. But at the same time, your story and where you're coming from as a place of a mom who saw her child struggling with mental illness, but lacking some of the tools at that time.
Oh, absolutely.
To where now, you want to empower other families to have those tools. So what are you kind of envisioning as far as that goes?
I think just educating them. I mean, really, truly knowing that, that it's not just going to be one and done. It is being very proactive in their lives, but not, I call it that helicopter parent,
I don't know what gave you that
analogy. Right. Airplane parent.
Yes.
But truly, those that hover in a way that is smothering and not allowing them to be their own unique person, but having those conversations and not in a way of, okay, sit down, now we're going to talk about school. It is in relation, we've got a wiffle ball, bat and ball right here on the floor. or on the ground. And it's during things like that. It's when you can come out here and sit on a swing and enjoy the cicadas, right?
Mind you, guys, it is getting very hot too. Like we're
glistening.
sweating. Rachel's dumb idea to do this.
No, I love it. I love, and again, sun is good. Sun is good. So, and that was the thing. I was like, I love the realness and the rawness of it, because we're not in a polished little set up, drop back, perfect, outside look or whatever. It's like you can be on purpose, inspired action if you choose to be. Or we do the, maybe it seems easy right now because it is hard to have those conversations, but it's going to be hard in the future. I wish I would have had more difficult conversations. And been more intentional. I don't, and I, as I say that, people are like, oh, don't feel guilty. I don't say that with guilt, but from what I've learned, I want to teach others.
Yeah.
So, it is, in what to look for, behavior that you can maybe pay attention to, and community. That's one of the things that the mentor membership is so important, is because we have women in there that some are empty nesters, some never had children, some, are going through the life right now with losing parents, and life is hard.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to meet adult women at this stage in our life. You may be so, because you have 4 children and they're still involved in so many things, so you're connecting, but it's still scary to connect with, adults.
Yeah.
Not only for what you have gone through and experienced, but because it's trusting. It's opening up doors and trusting situations like that. So I just want to educate people. I want to, again, we accidentally are when you said my team in Nashville, I was like, oh, that wasn't a one-time thing.
Yeah.
We're now a team, right? So
sorry about that. You're stuck.
right. That fit. We're keeping it. So again, it's not, things don't have to be forced to be right. And I think, again, being mindful, being prayerful, being diligent, and truly praying for discernment. You have said those words over and over to me, and I understand now the importance and the power of it, because sometimes things that look good really aren't good.
Right.
And again, we know that, but what does that look like?
Right.
Another thing is knowing how to say no.
Right.
Just because the fact that, again, we live in the South, people are friendly and we do things for everybody, but it's like, not everyone is welcome. That was another term that I used that weekend on the women's retreat. And I was like, everyone's always welcome. And you go, no, they're not.
Sorry, not all of them are welcome.
So again, just, I think, and there are tools. Sorry, I thought it was just in the morning, but I think everything, heat and breathing and breathing, of course, that whole breathing thing.
Yeah, quit it.
Mm-hmm. But educating people on the importance of reading books.
Yeah.
I hear people all the time say, I can't stand to read. My husband, he was one that never wanted to read. His mother was like a teacher and shared, the love of books with everyone.
Yeah.
He now, at 55, 56 years old, is making himself read because of the fact there's such benefit and growth there. Okay, you don't want to read because you fall asleep. Listen to an Audible. We have our cell phones with us at all times.
Yeah.
The journaling, setting tiny goals for ourselves.
Yeah.
Big goals, but little goals. So again, just being out there, the belly to belly, arm to arm, the time that you can share and meet people face to face. And I don't have a problem meeting people.
Yeah.
I feel very comfortable with that. And again, this past couple of weeks, I have so many, just like us going together and someone else being at a networking thing for the first time. And it was like, oh, I see. Thank you. Right. The gentleman that talked to us, Justin, I think he had connected us with his mom before we ever left.
And she's she's already read my book, and it's just, it's incredible the way that if we take just a little step in faith, God will run with it.
Yes.
And create a connection that is priceless. We now have a small group of us that, you know, we text daily, lots of encouragement. But we had a situation not too long ago, a couple days ago, really, where one of the girls reached out and she was like, I'm just going to be honest. I've had a really crappy week. And I know I maybe shouldn't have, but I just have, and I've been down and I wanted to isolate. But you know what? Instead, I'm going to share this with you guys. And it was funny because then Lisa and I got to talking later, and we realized all four of us, had actually had a really rough few days. But nobody had said anything because we all thought about it. Do I reach out? But, you know, her thought was, you feel like you're going to be a burden, but yet we know that our group it's not about burdening each other. It's about just another person praying.
Absolutely.
And had one of us made the choice to say, hey, I'm just going to put a blurb out there real quick to ask for, you know, the prayers and maybe share a little bit of what's going on, it would have invited all of us to have that opportunity maybe to break down some of those walls.
Right. And it wouldn't have been a week for her.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. It was like, oh, I'm okay. I'm going to just pray for myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to pray myself through.
Yeah.
Which is important, but having people that truly are prayerfully focused in the you know, their heart.
Yeah.
You know, the direction. You know, their struggles.
Yeah.
You know, the things that they've had to endure and face and still dealing with, you know, on an ongoing basis. That, again, just like that. It's not, you know, the me too, but it is me too.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, it's not like we're out there trying to fix each other. Like, share with me your problems so I can fix it. I can't fix your problems. You can't fix my problems. Lord have mercy. But there's something healing in just verbalizing to a friend a hurt or a struggle, where God is giving us a bit of healing. And there's a butterfly that will remind us of Hunter.
Yes, always.
But yeah, it's just, and again, it's not just having your toolbox, it's picking up and using the tools and doing what we know works. Granny talks to me about that all the time. You've been there, done this, Rachel. You know what tools work. It's just a matter of using them. And when you get stuck too far down, you don't feel like you have the strength to pick up those tools that you once did. And sometimes that's when you do have to reach out and ask for help or just some encouragement.
Well, and it's taken the power away from that negative self-talk.
True.
Because again, negativity, that's where I say you just lay there and roll around in it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in life that do that.
Yeah.
And I hope that you listening, you know someone that knows someone, right?
Yeah.
We all come into contact with so many different people. And I think the importance is being proactive with what it is that we hear, what it is that we see, what it is that we know, good or bad. I mean, again, that takes me back even to us wanting to get our foot into the schools.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that they have to take on a new whatever to do, but if they are knowing what they're watching for,
right?
If they're being proactive in asking, connecting, building a relationship where they see an issue.
Yeah.
Because these occurrences happen often.
Yeah.
The woman that I shared with you today, just today, shared with me a school here in Nashville.
I don't know what that was.
Here in Nashville, that this young lady was being trafficked daily, was being taken away from the school by a couple that this mother met at church, where we think that those people are going to be safe and keep us safe. And I'm not saying that all churches there's a problem. I'm not saying that all schools there's a problem. But we need to be vigilant. We need to be very aware of the things that, you know, aren't right.
Yeah, not to live in fear, but to live in knowledge and to act accordingly so that we can protect those around us. 100%.
Absolutely.
So, I just think kind of closing this up, I find it so inspiring, and I will say this till I'm blue in the face, that you are not sitting in a ball in the corner and just feeling the hurt repeatedly over and over again, but instead you've looked up and you've looked to see what it is that God is going to use from this, because there ain't no way you're going to get hurt like this in life and just let it rule your life. Instead, you're going to take it and run with it and let God run with it and let it change other people's lives. And I have so much respect for you for that. I also know that grief looks different for everybody. You know, she's a year and so many months out since this tragedy happened. And, you know, you may be in a similar situation, or you may be struggling with a child who is still in that mental illness phase and you feel like giving up. And I just think understanding that there's so many people who get it. You're not alone. You don't need to suffer in silence. Speaking out doesn't mean that you have to compare yourself to others either. So my point to all this being, her grief and where she's at may look different than where you're at. But when we all come together and choose to build each other up, it's going to, the ripple effect will be astronomical.
Oh, absolutely. And there's the thing that definitely take from this as well is that change happens daily. Whether you are proactively moving it in a direction or proactively moving it backward,
Right.
You are moving. No one is just, well, I'm just okay just how I am. It's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. When you do not, you know, it's just like eating better, working out, drinking your water, you know, having communication or community. If you are not proactively making things like that happen, it's negating every single day, and it's getting worse and worse and it's worse. And that's not what we're here for.
Right.
We're here to be happy, and we're here to be just such a positive part of life.
Yeah. You know, and I can tell you, it has not been that long ago that simply sitting out on my front porch would have been too unsafe for me to do. So the fact that I am in love with this wooden swing, sitting out here, getting to talk with a friend and not having to feel scared, I didn't think this day would come, honestly. So change is always happening. God is always working. Keep trusting him in that. And if you're at a place right now where the hurt is just a whole lot, know that there's those of us out here that you can reach out to. You know, Stop Suffering in Silence. We have an email. We have some social media messages that you can send with us. However it is, we would love to encourage you, because you are not alone and you don't have to suffer in silence any longer.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
You make a difference. Each and every single one of you that are watching this, listening to this, no matter where you're at, no matter where you've been, no matter what you're trying to make your way through, you truly do make a difference, and you're here for a reason. And just knowing that sometimes it takes others to allow you to see the depth of what that looks like, because again, it's things that I've heard other women speak in my presence, completely intentionally to me, that has allowed me to trust again, to be able to know that what I have been through does make a difference in the life of others too.
You've made a difference in my own life.
And you've made a difference in my life. Absolutely.
Well, on that note, see, we will let you guys go. But be sure to like, subscribe, share, all the things that Denise usually says in such a eloquent way. And please know also that we are going to be starting another round of 90-day U-Turn here shortly. And we would love to have you. If you are struggling with trauma or feeling stuck due to trauma, this is the group for you. Like, we will meet you where you are, and we will all come from a place of understanding, because we have either been there or are still there. But we have the similar goal of leaving the past behind and striving for what is ahead. I think that's a scripture, something like that.
I bet you're right.
I just can't think of it. Maybe in Philippians. Comment below if you know.
Yes.
I'm going to go look it up. All right. Thank you for being here with us. I pray the cicadas did not overtake our voices.
I know, right?
And we will see you all next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this powerful episode of Stop Suffering in Silence. If you are interested in booking Rachel to speak at your event, workshop, school, church, or organization, then please email racheltimothy.stopsis@gmail.com. If you are interested in donating to the Stop SIS ministry, then please check out the link in the description box or show notes below. Or you can email stopsis@protonmail.com. And finally, if you are currently suffering in silence or you know somebody who is, then check out our website, stopsuffering.org, to learn more about our online programs and resources. We will always recommend that you also reach out to your local resources and find a counselor that you can trust, because nobody is meant to suffer alone. Have an amazing week, and thank you for being here.